Is everything truly a matter of perspective? Are all unmoral issues a product of bias in the individual mind? I think that, it should definitely be addressed whether or not perspective has a major impact on who we are, how we view the world, and, what happens to us and how we're, you know, moved by it. I feel like a lot of times in life we can assume and we use assumption or overthought as a basis for our actions. And in doing that, we lose some of the beauty of life, I feel. It's one of those things that, like expectation ruins our lives. It strips us of our individuality. It strips us of our freedom in a way. Like, the more we expect and assume, the less we allow ourselves to actually be within that space, that something. What I'm saying is, we need to stop flinching at the world. You know, to say that everything happens for a reason is very calm. And if you accept that, then you shouldn't be worried. If you think nothing happens for a reason, in the same way you shouldn't be worried. Things are always going to be as they are. We can't necessarily change that. And it's not like any overthought or worrying about it's going to do something. Like, if all you can do is think about it, then it's not worth thought. So, to continue, if it's not in your hands, it shouldn't be within your mind either. We need to get better at being individuals and allowing ourselves to be within the space without putting connotation and without biasing it and without negatively assuming outcomes or, like putting so much of our ego and self within situations that have nothing to do with us. Like deriving our worth from external things rather than what we have within. The light doesn't find you, you are the light in a way. We have to give or be, what we want to attract in most case scenarios. You want a good job, it's not like you just hope for the good job. You make yourself a good person, a good candidate for that job, and you get it by doing that, ideally. So, with perspective, the main one we need to alter, the main one that we need to actually assist and help is the one we have of ourselves. The way we see ourselves is a direct correlation to how we see the world. If we view ourselves to be a positive person, I view the world as this, I'm happy about this, I'm always a happy guy. Everything in life is going to seem that way, except when it doesn't, like you're gonna have little bits and pieces, but if you instantiate to yourself that you are a certain way, then I think most of your consciousness is going to shift to that. It's going to be more attuned to being within that positive space because you think you yourself are a positive person. I think the main thing that makes people different is their mindsets and the perspective at which they take on the world. I feel like a lot of people who are caught up in the nonsense and are definitely being negatively impacted by circumstances. I'm not talking about grandiose ones that are outside of their control, but things within the spectrum of the human mind. Stressors that we don't necessarily need to stress about. Like after you take a test, like, I don't know. After you take a test, I'm using like school as an example because that's what I can relate to best. But like after you take a test, you put it all on your paper. I mean, like directly after, I don't see a point in worrying about it. Like it's all on the paper and there's no change. Like if you can't do anything, then there's nothing to worry about in a way. Like, it's going to be as it is, and any type of overthought beforehand is only promoting early suffering. He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it's necessary. Marcus Aurelius. That is to say that in this life we have to stop suffering. Stop causing ourselves this type of issue. And the main way to do that is to help ourselves by not being so analytical and critical of the things around us, in the sense that we do it in reference to our own perspective on it, not in reference to how things actually are, you know, because everything is just like relatively a calm nothing, and we're the ones who place the connotation and restrictions upon the things within our lives, whether that be voluntary or involuntary. But the senses I'm talking about, it's when we do it when we don't have to. You know, like building up a positive repertoire inside your head to make sure that whenever you're faced with new issues, new challenges, you're easily able to overcome them. Because you have faith in one, yourself, and faith that, you know, your perspective is something that's actually grounded in how you want it to be. I feel like a lot of us focus on what we don't want so much that that's what we tend to see. So I guess the implication would be to realize what you want and aim to do that, but at the same time have faith in it to work out without your constant need for a conscious effort. Because I feel like some of that flinching at the world is the conscious effort. It is the realization that things can go bad. It is the realization that you need to be better in some scenarios. It's all of that. But any person who has their self-improvement as a real goal, I feel like if it's that ingrained into your subconscious, you no longer need to consciously fight yourself about every issue. There is no past self to overcome. Who you are right now is exactly who you could be in the future. You know, like everything you want to be is within you right now.